We acknowledge and pay our respects to the Kaurna people, the traditional custodians whose ancestral lands we live and work on. We acknowledge the deep feelings of attachment and relationship of the Kaurna people to country, and we respect and value their past, present, and ongoing connection to country and their cultural beliefs. We extend that recognition and respect to all Aboriginal and First Nations people. Amy And is a podcast that explores all kinds of bookish things, and that can include some pretty adult content. So please be aware that some of this content will be not safe for work or for young ears, and be careful who's listening when you are. Welcome back to Amy And. I'm Amy Matthews, and I'm here today with Justina Ashman.
Hi, sorry.
And Payton Hogan. We're keeping that one because that sums Justina up totally. She's so deep in thought. We're here this week. We're doing Life Writing Month. We didn't know what to call it. It was like, are we doing like memoir, autofiction? We just shoved it under life writing, but we're going to be delving into it over the month. And this week, we're really lucky to get an interview with Olivia De Zilva, who has just released her first book, Plastic Budgie, which was a book that I was looking forward to reading. Like the publishers had talked to me a while ago about, you've really got to read this book. It's coming out. It's going to be amazing. So I had high expectations when I got the book, but it really is I think it's my favorite book of the year, actually, so far, which is a big call, but I loved it. And I think everyone should be reading this book. So we're really excited to welcome Olivia to the pod. I'll tell you a little bit about her. She's a writer based on Kaurna Yurta here in Adelaide. She's been awarded and shortlisted for prizes, including the Deakin University Non-Fiction Prize, the Cat Muscat Fellowship, and the Rochelle Prize for Emerging Writers. She's been published everywhere. I've seen her name pop up for so long now. So she's been published in The Guardian, Westerly, Liminal, SBS, Cordite Poetry Review, Mascara Literary Review, and the Australian Poetry Journal. She has a Masters of Philosophy from the University of Queensland, where her thesis explored the representation of Asian diasporic identity in contemporary Australian publishing, which sounds like very academic, but is actually an incredibly, I'm going to use the word muscular because I think I will use that a lot tonight, but it's a really, I guess, what's the word, practical thing. Like, it's not as academic as it sounds. It has real world effects immediately. And hopefully Olivia's going to talk to us a little bit about that tonight. And I'm going to hand over to Justina to tell us a bit about the book.
I'm going to read the blurb, but as you'll find out in our interview, it is a book that kind of defies description in a lot of ways. Olivia was named after a lycra-clad singer her parents saw on Rage. As a child, she lost the ability to speak and spent a year barking like a dog. Her gong gong brought her a yellow bird in a shoebox from Adelaide Central Markets. Her heart was broken by a guitar teacher after a school disco. She started university and learnt to run and travelled to Guangzhou for her cousin's wedding. In her brutally funny, genre-defying debut, Olivia De Zilva collects stories on shelves, neat coming-of-age anecdotes and sitcom characters trapped behind glass. Then she breaks it all apart. Plastic Budgie questions how our memories and families form us in a way that is both unapologetically sentimental and eternally surprising. It is full of itchy Y2K nostalgia, curses, and glimpses of birds.
Yeah. Pink Shorts Press are very good at writing blurbs. It's a very good blurb.
Yeah, the cover. How good is the cover?
Oh, it's
good. Gorgeous.
So everyone, help us welcome Olivia.
Yeah.
Woo!
So the first question I was going to ask you, Olivia, was around your journey as a writer, because I know every writer on the planet has a different journey. Like they come to it at different times in their lives. Some people start writing really early. Some people just started writing like a year ago. And so I was wondering what your journey was to writing this book.
Yeah, so basically with this book, it started about 5 years ago. I was like really interested in writing kind of autofiction, memoir adjacent work. I had written a few things and I won the Deakin University Non-Fiction Prize with Express Media. And they really encouraged that kind of non-fiction exploration. And that was something that I was really interested in. I found when doing my honours at the University of Adelaide, a lot of the stuff I was writing was based on reality. So I was like really trying to follow that thread. And I think after trying to play around with fiction a little bit, I found that autofiction was more comfortable for me. So it really started about 5 years ago. Lots of different trash iterations. Like the first one was really bad. It just had a list of people I had sex with. Like it was so really bad and brash. But then I was like, oh, maybe I should like lean into that. So I kind of did, and it went through a few, yeah, like I said, different iterations until it really reached its peak when Pink Shorts was interested in it. Like they approached me and they said, oh, do you have anything? We've read some of your auto fiction in places like Mascara and Liminal, and we found that that experimental voice kind of worked. So yeah, that's where it really started. And I think I was really counseled and mentored by them to make it as, yeah, you can probably read, quite insane and like
Are you going to do anything with the things you've discarded? Like, are you still working with those?
Some of them, but like a lot of the stuff that was discarded were like building blocks for this book.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's still very much part of it, just in a different kind of way.
So to just build on your question, sorry, Justina, cutting you off, and it may be exactly what you're going to ask. This is basically how we go, Olivia. We talk over each other and it's chaos.
That's okay, all good.
I was just going to ask about that editorial experience with Pink Shorts Press and what it's like going through that publishing experience for your first book for something that's quite personal as well, and how it feels to be like edited and develop a work with somebody else.
Yeah, like obviously like I've done like my postgrad and things like that, so I was pretty used to like receiving lots of feedback and constructive, sometimes not constructive criticism. But yeah, like basically for us, I'm not sure how it is for everyone else, but it really worked as a kind of friendship, really. Like, yeah, I didn't feel like editorialized at all. I felt like we were bouncing ideas, we were talking. There was just so many conversations. Like, it was just a giant conversation. It was never really like super technical or, yeah, really literary. I found it that it was very conversational. It was like basically like talking to your friends about stuff, getting, having a D&M really. Like, it was that personal to me that I found really, really engaging. I'm not sure like everyone would have that experience, and I certainly haven't, going through different publications and journals. But that relationship, I think it was really important that we built that sense of trust because it was very personal. I think, yeah, it took a bit of time. Like I got signed in the middle of last year, just the start of June, actually. So it took a lot of time to build that. Like the story really started out quite different to what it is now. And that's because we were able to build trust and we were able to work together to find something that was really unique.
I would agree. I think
incredible.
It's really, really unique book. And when you were talking about voice too, like I think part of that trust is getting someone to get the voice, because I think what's so interesting about it to me is that there is this incredible kind of muscular, I don't know how to say it. It's not like when I say dense, I don't mean dense. I just mean it's got this kind of layering to it, but then is so readable. Like it was such a quick read. Did you feel they got your voice? Like when they approached you, they already had your voice down. Like that was what they loved about it. So you didn't feel like there was any manipulation of the voice.
No, like that really, they encouraged me to be like as unhinged as possible. It wasn't, yeah, no, never did I ever feel like I needed to be editorialized or needed to be in a shape that was appealing to everyone. Because what I'm finding with this book and the feedback I've received and reviews is that like it can't really be pegged into anything. Like it's not a memoir, it's not like strictly autofiction, it's not strictly fiction, it's this really like moving and nebulous thing. And I think that's what's really exciting about it because I've never had any like experience like that. And yeah, that kind of layering was really important right from the start. And I think if anything, working with Emily really encouraged that. She was really like pushing me to be as out there as possible because, there's so many standard memoirs around. And I think that I really wanted to differentiate myself because I don't have like a unique life story, I'd say. It's really by the book. So when I was given an opportunity to write about it, I feel like I don't want to write just something that's just so boring and plain. It has to have this element of playfulness to it because that's what it is. It leans really hard into innuendo and, yeah, kind of kitsch because I don't want it to belong on a shelf.
Yeah.
I loved the voice. I found it so engaging.
Mhm.
And I find it interesting the way you're talking about genre because I see it most often described as autofiction, but I don't know that everyone would be familiar with what autofiction even is.
Yeah.
And like you just made a beautifully eloquent point about how it doesn't really sit comfortably in any genre. But how like what actually is autofiction?
It's basically for me, like if I can describe it in my own words, it's a placeholder for what this book is. It's a label really. But for me, I wouldn't say that this book technically is autofiction. For me, it belongs to so many, and I talk about this in the book a lot, like it belongs to so many different dimensions and alternate universes. You know what I mean? So like my MPhil topic at the University of Queensland was exploring labels in publishing, especially for Asian diasporic women writers. And I found that like by deconstructing labels, by refusing to put a label on your work, makes it really much more impactful. Autofiction to me is a placeholder, and I think it's something that makes people feel comfortable that it sits within a genre. But I really wouldn't define this book by genre at this point.
It's so great that you had such a close relationship with your editor, I think,
Mhm.
because it is such a sensitive thing when you're trying to do something different and when you're breaking into an industry that is so white centric and so culturally one thing.
And
To have
capitalist,
someone,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm.
to have someone who can be flexible with you and just like person to person, like a friend,
Yeah.
it really comes through in the book, I think. You can
Okay.
tell there's
Yeah,
so much love in it.
yeah, like it is. Yeah, really like a project of love and like labor. And yeah, kind of, I don't know, I feel like I really wanted it to push limits. I wanted it to be provocative. I know it's not like super like controversial or anything, but I think it's a provocation in general when a woman of color like writes a book. Like
Mhm.
it's finding a place, it's establishing yourself. Yeah, I really wanted it to break free of any white hegemonic expectations that this industry has. And I can talk all day about that.
We would love you to if you want
Yeah.
to.
Well, yeah, can I talk? Like,
Please,
Yeah,
please
Of
do.
if you want to
course.
cut this out, you can. But like,
We never will. This is
Yeah.
what we
to
live for.
silence you, Olivia.
Lock in
I
everyone for a 3-hour episode.
I know, like me just ranting. No, but what I find like quite interesting with this book is that I think it provokes a sense of white fragility. So I'll give you an example. I've published alongside like a very lovely, and I love him, it's like a very lovely white man who has a position of power. His book has been covered by mainstream media, Sydney Morning Herald, The Guardian, The Conversation, and we were pitched both to the same places equally by our publisher, but for some reason his is being elevated and mine isn't. And I think there's a reticence to, I don't know, disseminate and discuss women of color stories, especially when they raise issues of racism, of white shame as well. So, and
Yeah.
obviously that book deals a lot with it. And that's something, yeah, and there's also like a capitalist element, like you should be grateful that you have a place in this society, you'll be on the margins, but because you're on the margins, we'll give you this spotlight and be grateful for the spotlight, but only under our conditions. And that's something that, yeah, I'm really, really struggling with in terms of marketing the book. And that's why it's easier for me to say it's unlabeled, because basically any person of color, any queer person, any First Nations person publishing anything is just a provocation. It's a protest. And that's why I'm like really inspired by like the people around me, especially like Michelle de Kretzer, like winning the Stella, just got shortlisted for the Prime Minister's Literary Awards. That's a massive protest. And that's something that people, yeah, should be really aware of, because these stories do exist. And if you dare to touch them, to disseminate them, to provoke them, there's actually so much in there that you could talk about, especially in mainstream media. So it's quite a shame that debuters or more emerging people are missing those opportunities, because Michelle has been publishing books for years, right? And only, this one has really taken off because someone took a chance on it in the mainstream. And that's just such a shame, because there's so much more that she has that could be discussed. And yeah, I just think it's quite a shame that the industry treats these stories this way. Not trying to be facetious, but that's just
No, but
No.
totally agreed.
yeah.
One thing I loved about this book was how unapologetic it is in being everything all at once, in being able to be so deeply, deeply Australian, and not just Australian, but like 2000 suburban Adelaide, northern suburbs, and also very, very unapologetically this Asian diaspora experience, very unapologetically this experience of growing up as like a girl and a young woman and like sitting in this space where I feel like sometimes there's an urge in maybe the criticism and writing about Asian stories to look at it as representation and analyze it for authenticity, which I find personally frustrating. And I like that this, almost in its unapologetic specificity, completely resists any kind of this homogenizing or universalizing and how it is representing all of Asian diasporic experience. It's like, no, this is so specific because experiences are so like multitudinous and specific. Anyway, I think you did it wonderfully.
And to go back to the specifics of the book, even within like your family, her family, like that boundary line between what is fiction, what is Olivia, there's such a range of experience of being Asian and different heritages and cultures and contrasts and genders. And I mean, even from the very first chapter, like where you talk about Olivia's mother being pregnant or your mother being pregnant, or I love that slipperiness, but just all the family's responses. And that, as you said, Justine, it's like everything all at once. The minute I picked the book up, it just felt like I was in the midst of it. I thought the energy of it was so amazing.
Yeah, I really wanted it, like you said, Amy, to be muscular. I wanted it to be kind of an amoeba, like absorbing everything around it, because that's what people's perceptions of life is, right? Like you don't just, it's just so hard to just be, because you're so many different things. You're a body, but you're also like thoughts and feelings and fears and anxieties. And that's what I really wanted to deconstruct. I guess this book is just a moving being that's alive. And I think it can go anywhere that anyone wants to take it. And that's what I found really interesting about writing it, because it just felt like another limb at times.
This is reminding me, I can't remember now if you said this in an interview or in the book, because I've been stalking your interviews. But you're saying something about how you were proud of yourself for being able to be more experimental in your writing than you were initially expecting to. And I'm interested in that initial expectation of yourself. And I'm wondering, were you consciously or subconsciously trying to fit something more conventional to make it more sellable, and then it just kind of resisted that in and of itself and forced you to approach it differently?
100%. Like, that's what I was told to do. That's what the expectation of me was, to write, a really conventional story about a young, like, second generation immigrant growing up in Australia. And like, there's a lot of those stories, but when you go underneath that, what does that really mean? What are the implications? And I really actually wanted to explore the implications, and that's what helped me become like really experimental, like implications of race, implications of family, like implications of like domestic violence, implications of abuse. Like, what does that mean? And how is that stripped back and interesting for people in a way that, is also like, I don't know, a boundary for me. So using experimentation, exploring implications really was a protection for me. I really just didn't want to write a conventional story, because going back to this exploration of authenticity, I was reading Cher Tan's book Peripathetic, and she says that authenticity is kind of made up of white expectations, especially of Asian women. And so I felt like to be authentic is to conform in a way. So I really disuse that label, and authentic for a publisher maybe will be, I grew up and I ate funny food, and then it was all good because we sat by the kitchen table. And that's literally how it ended the first go when I sent it to the first publisher, because that's what they wanted.
Wow.
It all comes back to you as an identity then, if you do it that way. Like, it just centers you constantly as a kind of object to be looked at.
Definitely. Like an object that's kind of uncanny on a shelf. Like that's like uncomfortable, but you keep it in the house for whatever reason, you just keep coming back to it. That's what I really wanted to invoke the feeling of.
Yeah, because the way the book is now, there's a complete, as we were talking about with the slipperiness, a complete decentering of Olivia De Zilva, right? Like, we don't know where you fit in this. What's fiction, what's fact, what's like it's all real and not real at once. And it's all, when you said about it being an amoeba, you know how amoebas are constantly changing and shifting? I feel like every time I came back, I reread the first chapter like a few times, and every time I read it differently. And I think that is one of the joys of this book, is that it is like a limb that's moving. It's like flexed. It's not, it's in different positions when you come to it. And it makes the reader commit themselves to the book as well.
Yeah.
It's that layeredness you were talking about as well.
Yeah, like definitely I really wanted to, and a few people actually have said like they've had to reread it a few times, and not in like a bad way because it was like
No, it's just so great. Like I would stress this that we only have books on that we love on the show,
yeah,
but also like I would reread this for pleasure many
yeah,
times. Like it's just there's so much in it, but it's also just so bloody readable. Like it's so
Yeah.
readable.
yeah. I think like yeah, it moves with you.
Yeah.
And that's what I really found writing it. I think it moved with me. Like I was a million different versions of myself when writing this, and I'm gonna be a million different versions of myself when reading it back. And that's what's like kind of interesting about it, because we talk about like the duplicity of who we really are, and obviously that ending kind of breaks that apart. Like who are we really? Who are we trying to be? What are we trying to prove? Who is this perception of ourselves, our mirror image? Our mirror image, which is funny, will always be a bit skewed and uncanny and kind of
Yeah.
scary. And you see it in the dark and you're like, oh my God, like that's so scary. I can't look. And it's like, why is that? And I
Yeah.
really wanted to lean into that feeling, because you can't really accept yourself. Like there's no way you can ever face yourself and be like, yeah, I'm a good person, or like I'm perfect, because you're always going to have some kind of doubt. And I think that moves with the book a
Yeah.
lot.
Do you feel like that idea of the self being stable and then we're so uncomfortable with how different we are at any given point in time because we want to be this same thing for our whole lives? The book kept making me think about how much shame so many people I know, including myself, feel about every past iteration of ourselves. Like it's just inherently embarrassing or
Yes.
cringeworthy. It seems to be like a very Western idea. Like I think about the idea of the self and identity, and especially in literature, when you think of the novel and like the obsession with yourself and with introspection and stuff. And this book was such a refreshing way to break out of that, especially to think about trauma, because I feel like a lot of our notions of therapy are really just about ruminating over the same trauma over and over again and being hurt by it over and over again. So you're just like so obsessed with yourself and your past, rather than, I don't know, it's hard to imagine an alternative, but this is helpful. It's helpful to imagine just like radical self-acceptance and not really thinking about yourself as a self at all.
No, I just saw myself as like another dimension. Like all the different cells that you belong to can't belong to the same one you're in now, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I found that really interesting, and that exploration of dimensions and the mirror imaging was really, really like interesting to me. And that really only came like at the end of the process. Like it really did end super like conventional. And then we kind of circled back. Sorry, my corporate mind. We kind of moved around the ending, and we're like, well, this is not working. And Em and I questioned why. And then it was because in Asian diaspora, like there's no ending, like there's just constant reincarnation. And I truly like believe in that. Like I see my grandpa as a bird and things like that. Like, yeah. And so we just took that Eastern view of endings and the self and really try to put it all on the page.
Yeah. You did an amazing job.
Yeah.
I feel like that idea of this like stable self and like that very structured story of like a human's life, that coming of age, building Roman narrative of transitioning from one stable self to another stable self.
Yeah.
I love that, how much this book resists that narrative. The self isn't stable. And also these distinctions between what is memory, what is nostalgia, what is speculation, what is fact, what is true. There's so much more slippage between those terms than people are willing to be comfortable with.
Yeah, 100%. And I feel like, yeah, that slipperiness, that angst between those different kind of conclusions was something that I really wanted to explore. Yeah, there's no such thing as a clean ending. And when you kind of get to that conclusion, at least in this kind of form of writing, it becomes a bit navel-gazy. And like that wasn't something that I really wanted to explore. Like I'm not an introspective person, I don't think. Like I'm very like detached. I see the world in, yeah, a really like cynical way sometimes. And so to write an ending that would be tied up in a bow just wouldn't work for me. So I really try to think about, yeah, a million different endings and kind of shove them into one.
I was going to say, listening to you guys talk about selfhood, one thing that struck me too about the book is that Western idea has this idea then of the constant death of the self. That one self dies so another one can live. And what the structure of this, the way it's kind of fragmented, allows all selves to exist at once.
Yeah.
Like it's that incredible multiplicity and having to have old selves die to be
Yeah.
the new person. And I
Yeah.
thought that was pretty beautiful actually.
Yeah, I just kind of imagined it as a hall of mirrors in a way, but in not a creepy way, but like in a yeah, pretty
Yeah.
like a beautiful way that you just have to come face to face with that. But I'm kind of scared of death, and I didn't really like the idea of killing yourself off to become, oh, you're like the better version, like I'm like the alpha you, because there's no such thing.
Yeah.
So
No. I like the phrase the
yeah.
alpha you. That's amazing because I feel like a lot of fiction, that's what the hero's journey is to get to the alpha
Yeah.
you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I want it to be with every version because I feel like that's how, I don't know, like I've interpreted life and my own family's grief and death. Like everything I've noticed from their history has been cyclical, but it's also been really beautiful and passed down in really like profound ways. And our interpretation of death isn't probably the same as a Western version. Like we scattered my grandpa's ashes and then we ate them, like some of them. And yeah, so to, I don't know, envelop yourself so truly in someone else just makes you feel like there can just be so many versions of them living and breathing with you. And then there's so many versions of yourself alongside that. And so I think that was like kind of a beautiful thing for me to acknowledge.
Yeah, I think having the photograph too, right before the final chapter,
Mhm.
brings us right back around again to the
Mhm.
beginning, right? Like,
Yeah.
and in a wordless way, I thought the photograph, there's such a mix of emotions in the photograph.
I know. I know. Yeah. Is that the one with the birds at the end?
Yeah, it's the one where you're crafting.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. And I was like creating like paper dolls. Yes.
Yeah.
Infinite. Yeah, there's just so much infinity, I think, in the work, which I think is like quite interesting to me, at least, because it just doesn't signify an ending in a conventional sense.
I feel like that connection between yourself and your family is so interestingly explored in the voice and structure of this because sometimes, even though the narration is the same narrator, it will slip into the perspective of family members in a way that feels super organic, where I feel like it's this acknowledgement that you're carrying your family with you in your own identity and the things that we, inherit from our family
Yeah.
and the things that are passed down to us.
Yeah.
It's like more deep and complex than just, I've picked up this habit or that habit. It's
Yeah.
like, the way that it's like enmeshed into the narration, I found really lovely.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it felt like a really, strong osmosis with like everything. And I kind of just, I don't know, enveloped everything that was around me and just I kept shedding a skin, which I found like quite interesting. So that way of carrying people with you doesn't necessarily have to be like sinister or ghostly. It can be that you just know that, there's another version of you that was once them, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Especially on the matriarchal line, like when at the end of the book, especially when you're talking about the endometriosis issues and everything and how they may be hereditary and curses from mother to daughter. And it's so true even on a biological level. You know how when you're in an egg in your mother's fetus in her mother's body when she's pregnant, like there's such interconnectedness and everything, and you've written it that way in the book as well.
Yeah, and that's why I like, and this came really late, but that's why I really liked the image of the ammonite because you can see if you deconstruct an ammonite, you can see everything that they once were, and that's how I saw the womb, and that's how I saw like my relationship with my family. Like it was just like never ending, but you could see every part of them that was like inside. And that's how ammonites work. Like they carry like millions of years of history, and they still continue. So I found that, like a really exciting image to use, and that really only came late, and it was only because I was like listening to this Eurovision song and he talks about ammonites and how they're like infinite code, so I was like, oh wow, I'm gonna
I love that. Are there any other places, maybe unexpected places you got inspiration from in addition to Eurovision? The Simpsons magazines.
Well, like The Simpsons is so profound if you look at it in a like theoretical way. They talk about death and relationships with your family so beautifully. And that's something that, I was really interested in, obviously. But like this book, I would say, and I've been saying this a lot, comes from, like a really strong love of pop culture, of, gossip magazines of like the 2000s. And that's how I really kind of wanted it to kind of flow like. It's got that like unreliable narrator. It's got the drama, it's got hits and peaks, and I was really interested in the layout of a magazine, like especially a trash magazine, and how they work in terms of storytelling. And they're really messy and like dramatic, and that was something that I was really interested in. I really liked the voice of that. Yeah, I would say like a lot of, the themes and the way I explored things came from absorbing a lot of trash when I was younger, which is probably really bad. But
the simpsons of it all is so 2000s though. In that space as well, where 6 o'clock every night you're sitting in front of the TV.
That's right.
And then The Simpsons itself is so deeply referential and intertextual and full of pop culture references. It's just just a part of how you see the world and how you think when you're growing up in that.
Yeah, definitely. Like that intertextuality was something that was, I don't know, people called it lowbrow, but I found like it helped me like deconstruct a lot of different ideas. So it was really
Yeah. I hate the differentiation anyway, between lowbrow to highbrow.
I don't feel like any of us are on that page.
I was actually going to ask, there was a part in the book that when you're at university, you say, quote, or the narrator says, quote, I pretended to like all the novels my peers went on about as if I hadn't only read from my school library's teen drama section. And now, because this is a pretentiousness-free zone, I'm dying to know what you were reading in the school library. I would have been reading like Twilight and Hush Hush, things like that.
Yes, I definitely read all of Twilight. Looking for Alibrandi was something that I loved. But yeah, I feel like not a lot of people in Australia talk about these books, but the Jacqueline Wilson books are like so amazing. I read all of those.
Nice.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but like Girls Out Late, Tracy Beaker, they were like always really scandalous, and that's what I loved. Obviously, I just love drama and melodrama, so I was definitely reading those, and I still have copies of those, and I will read them every time I'm on a plane. I'm not gonna read like War and Peace, you know what I mean?
War and Peace.
Yeah, I was gonna say the flip side of that question is what were the novels, the quote unquote highbrow novels that you were less interested in?
Oh, like as a teenager or like
or the
at uni
pretending to like.
Oh, there was, I don't know, I don't want to say anything offensive.
That's so fair. That's so
fair.
Yeah. I was very much into my trash kitsch.
Yeah.
I still am. So that's me, I guess.
I mean, we just came off the back of what we'd themed as our academic themed month. And because the majority of us are scholars working in popular romance studies, we're so in that finding the depth and like sincerity as well as interest in the trash that other people consider just not worthy.
Yeah. Like I was saying at the top of the show to Olivia, like so much of it, those definitions are put onto it by other people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there's such a way to minimize, say, a teenage girl's likes. The stories you're gravitating towards obviously have meaning for you, or like I loved trash magazines too, and still on a plane will buy a trash magazine because it's a fun thing to read on a plane.
Yes.
And it's like denigrating that and gossip, right? Denigrating gossip, which actually has a function and a value.
Yeah.
It's just such a way of putting women in their boxes or, non-hegemonic people in their boxes.
Yeah, exactly. Like I hate when people are like, I'm a saint, like I'll never gossip, I'll never say a bad word about anyone. But it's like it's such a communal thing. It's such a trust building exercise. It's really important for morale. Like I know in a workplace it is. So yeah,
literally.
It's also a way, don't you think it's a way for people who are really put in a place where it's almost impossible to speak truth to power?
Yes.
To actually share knowledge about dodgy situations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like, I totally agree. Like you have to tell people about stuff that's like, it could be harmful for a situation. So I totally agree. And I think, like you said, denigrating like someone's interest and being like, oh, like, that's such a stupid thing to like is such an unproductive way to like read and view the world.
Yeah.
It's so funny. And by fun, not funny, haha, but when people look at a book or a TV show or a song or what have you, that especially women and girls or like teen girls find connection to and see themselves in and feel like represents something, some truth about how they experience the world. And that's lowbrow and that's trash. But if it's something that a man feels like represents how he sees the world and how some truth about him, it's the human condition, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's, yeah, like I definitely wanted to like lean into that in the book and be like, yeah, maybe trashy is like hot and like maybe
Yeah.
yeah, definitely wanted to be unplaceable on a shelf. And I wanted it to be uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I wanted
Well, I'm hoping they put it on every fucking shelf. That's my dream. It
Yeah.
should be on every single shelf. Can I ask about Adelaide? Because I'm dying.
Okay, yeah.
Because we don't get to see Adelaide that much in fiction, and particularly for, younger writers, like it takes people a long time to publish, so we don't often see your generation's representation of Adelaide. And then obviously Pink Shorts Press is a new publisher that is so located in Adelaide, and I just loved your representation of Adelaide. It felt so specific. It felt so located in a time, and it just brought me joy. So I was wondering if you could talk about Adelaide as kind of the location for the book.
Yeah, so we, Emily and I were talking about the Sydney and Melbourne voice, and we found that they were very much, yeah, a bit navel gazy. They were like, well, we're the highbrow of Australia, like kind of, I don't know, pretentious, and we're the place to be, really. And then we kind of zoomed in on Adelaide, and we were like, well, like we were the first state that got, voting rights for women, Miles Franklin, obviously, Don Dunstan, and things like that. So I found that the Adelaide voice was really, I don't know, it had this like cool cringe to it, which I think it's really good to let yourself be uncool and let yourself be escaped from like pretension. And I found that even though Adelaide has accomplished so many great things, like Guy Sebastian and stuff like that.
I saw him at a mall the other day. He came to Westfield Westlakes and performed an acoustic set.
What? I didn't even know about that. That's that would have made my
so
year.
random. He did Battle Scars. He was like, who's going to do the rap? And he was like, my mum might come up and do it.
And did she?
No. So disappointed.
Surely he can work on getting more of his family members into celebrity.
But yeah, I just like how Adelaide is really unapologetic and not afraid to like be the weird aunt at a party.
I love that you went with aunt, because I think that is appropriate. We're not like the weird kid at the party. We're like the aunt who just won't be contained.
Yeah, but that's so true. Like if you look at books from Sydney and Melbourne, like I just feel like they have this air about them, this heaviness that we want to
seriousness, like confidence. Yeah.
Sometimes they represent themselves as a depiction of life in Australia and what it is to be Australian, and in a way that I never connected to when I was reading it, because I was like, well, that's just not what my experience is. But whereas this book's not afraid to be specific.
I love the specificity of Adelaide. I love the kitsch, especially like Pink Shorts always talks about kitsch. They're very like kitschy, and kooky, and that's what Adelaide is to me. And I think Adelaide is so unapologetic in the way we are.
Yeah. I had a little moment of, I guess, grief at the beginning when you were talking about the Adelaide Central Markets and the news agency, which I must have been in a billion times in my life.
Yeah.
And then it's gone. And then it's just like, I just want to go back. I want to go back there. So at least I can go back in your book.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I know. It's like kind of sad. It's a giant Coles now, isn't it?
Oh, well, I don't know. There's the whole new, I haven't been for a while because they're doing the renovation. It's going to be totally different. It'll be all schmick.
Yeah, and that's not us. Like we're
No.
like we have a sausage shop next to a shoe store, next to a news agency, next to a pet store. Like we should honor that,
I agree. And also that polishing of Adelaide's edges also makes me feel some kind of sad and nostalgic as well for what
I know, because we had, I don't know, we just have all this kitsch here, and I think it's very fun to lean into it. And yeah, that provocation of nostalgia versus memory, I really loved it. Like I really loved describing Adelaide, because that's what it is to me in my mind. Like, was this here, or am I making it up because like I don't know, the environment kind of encouraged me to.
Oh, it felt real to me.
You're saying about like reveling in that kind of cringiness of it, because I feel like I mean, at least this was my experience as someone who moved to Melbourne after my undergrad and like had a brief time being one of the Adelaide expats in Melbourne, which is or as in any other state, but that feeling of people running away from a city that they feel a little bit embarrassed by. And I was like, well, I never disliked Adelaide. I've always loved it, but it is kind of cringy, but it is something that's really fun I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's something lovable about that.
But does the cringy come from within or without? Is it put upon us or do we? Because we don't see ourselves represented much. And thinking about whiteness as well,
Yeah.
the Adelaide you see represented is always so white. Like
I
it
know.
is so
Yeah.
colonial still, city of
It's always a
churches, a
Burnside
cricket
mug.
ground. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
very much a certain representation that we see. And I wonder if the cringiness is, yeah, because I don't know that I do feel so cringy. It used to make me really mad because my generation all left. Like, I'm a Gen X and they all left. Like, I was maybe the last person. My cousins and friends left. Whereas I see kind of like your generation and the Zs staying. And I think it's losing that cringiness maybe because instead of listening to the without, it's kind of looking at what we actually are and loving it.
Yeah. I think there was a lot of like vocalness of like, you should always leave because it's so small and like choking and strangling. But if you kind of track I don't know, a life cycle of a bird, they always come back home. And it's because it's the most comfortable. And I think those previous colonial expectations of Adelaide are kind of shifting now. Like people come because it's actually genuinely joyful to be here. In terms of the literary sense, it's thriving. So why wouldn't you want to be here? And I think that sense of cringe definitely came from external sources. It's kind of like, again, like we were discussing, authenticity and expectations that are like brought upon by greater forces. And I'm really glad Adelaide kind of provoked that and stood up for itself and was like, yeah, like we're here and we're quite an interesting city to talk
And
about.
it's weird. I find it weird too, the narrative around us being a small city, because in global terms, we're not. You know,
No.
like Edinburgh, I was just in Edinburgh and
Yes.
they're only 500,000 people and they're
I
in like a
know.
major global city and we're like 1 point something million and we still walk around going, oh, we're just a small city. It's
I
so strange.
know.
I do feel like it is something that is external that then people start to internalize. Because when I
Yeah.
see people say, "Oh, there's nothing on in Adelaide, nothing ever happens in Adelaide," and
It's like a festival every week.
Yeah, I know.
and I'm just like, "There's always stuff on." Like I don't know where the myth that it's like completely dead comes from because I just find that that's not true.
No, it's just like, yeah, like we said, like expectations built upon. And it's really interesting that the new generation of people are trying to like break free of that because Australia loves kitsch. Like, and so I'm not sure why they didn't love Adelaide. They love Kath and Kim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
We've got the Moors
exactly.
balls. They're about as kitsch as you can get.
Yeah.
I know. I know we've got the pigs.
Yeah, and we have Smiley Fritz. I was thinking about, I was like, Adelaide
Fruitcakes.
is Smiley Fritz. And then I was like, Olivia surely mentioned Smiley Fritz in the book. And you did. I remembered. I was like, yes, there is a Smiley Fritz
Oh,
reference.
yes. No, I still eat it now. Like, I really don't care about being lame. I really don't. So I guess that, yeah, that's how I feel about Adelaide. It's kind of got the same mentality.
Guys, we are getting almost out of time. We've probably got time for one question each. Have you guys got last questions you want to ask?
I do. Are you a fan of your namesake, Olivia Newton-John? And do you have a favorite banger of hers?
I actually, no, I'm not a fan because I really like Grease, but I liked when she was in Glee. That was really fun. So
That's an incredible answer. Absolutely goated answer.
I know. When she was like in the remade physical video with Sue Sylvester, like that was iconic to me. And that's when I was proud of being named after her. Only if there was a Glee cover.
Did they cover Xanadu?
I don't
Surely.
know.
That would be my favorite
Oh.
Olivia Newton-John song.
Yeah, and the whole film. I mean, that is kitsch on a plate.
I do
Wow.
actually like the film. I love the film actually. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Okay, Olivia Newton-John, you get a pass.
I know.
I feel like we found the cover image for the episode is us as the muses from Xanadu.
Yes. Yes. I would love that.
Or in Sue Sylvester tracksuits.
Both. I will
There
make
has
it
to be
work.
both. Yeah, Payton is a genius. She can make this happen. I have one more, which is you've got another book on the horizon. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I was not planning that at all. But actually, yeah, as I said before, I was doing my postgraduate studies at the University of Queensland. So I was doing a Master of Philosophy, which you had to write a novella for, and that novella happened to be picked up by a publisher. So that was really, really writing. So I've described this novella, Eggshell, as a plastic version of Plastic Budgie because
Oh,
they're basically like, I'm so obsessed with twins. I guess I'm a Gemini, but like they're just both talking to each other in different ways. Like speaking of Xanadu, like the main character is named Kira after Xanadu.
oh, seriously?
Yes.
How's that for synchronicity?
I know.
Whoa.
So that's why I have so many layers and like limbs going everywhere. So yeah, it's really a mirror image that's very warped and uncanny, but it's a fictionalized story about a young girl growing up in Adelaide, of course. And I think it's like the teen drama that I really wanted to read when I was a kid. So
Oh, I
that's
love it.
wrote it for that reason.
I'm so excited to read it.
It sounds incredible.
Drama. Yes, I read so much Jacqueline Wilson to prepare for that novel.
Oh, well, I think we'd be very keen to have you back on. I'd be super keen for that.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
okay.
I'm really keen for that one, and I'm interested to see how people will parallel the two when reading it. Because again, it's that mirror thing, it's many different selves.
I would prepare yourself for there being a bunch of Year 12 students across South Australia who do that pairing for their personal project.
Oh, that's so true.
Yeah, I 100% like want that to happen. That was like my dream when writing it. I'm like, I want Year 12s to read it and feel like they can deconstruct it. So I really hope that does happen. That's a huge dream of mine. So yeah, that
Yeah, I think it's inevitable. I'm gonna just bank on it now. I think that would be amazing. I would be recommending that to everyone I know.
I'm so fascinated to see what like a current teen today thinks of this book. I mean, for me, I was constantly feeling like so much recognition in everything I was reading. But I wonder if that is the same experience for someone who didn't grow up in Adelaide in the 2000s, and especially with the like Y2K revivals, whether it's going to have that nostalgic feel for them.
Yeah.
Or going to read like period fiction. Like, I don't know.
Yes, I'm such a old timer. I don't know. Like, I hope they do see themselves in it. Like, obviously, adolescence is universal in whatever period you're going through. It's sticky, it's awkward, it's weird. So
I think there's this longing too for a pre-technological moment.
yeah, and I feel like from the way I've read at the moment, it's very like of its time. It's very, which is really cool. Like I really love it. But that's why people love those kind of like movies and shows like Stranger Things. I'm totally blanking on other shows, but you guys would know.
Yeah.
But like things set in the 80s or 90s, like Call Me by Your Name, like people love that.
Yeah.
Because it goes analog, I guess. It makes your feelings analog and like that longing. Yeah, I think that's really interesting. That's my main hope, you know, that people like kids especially read it.
All right, so everybody who's watching and listening to us needs to go and get a copy of Plastic Budgie and start pre-ordering Eggshell because it sounds amazing.
Yes. It made me cry. I cried
Oh,
a couple times.
I cried in the opening chapter.
Yeah.
I was so invested in Olivia's mother.
Yes. And the Milo noodles.
great.
I
A
wanted
great
to
snack.
make them to be like, I made them, but I didn't actually have any Milo. So
Oh my God. What I want to say found really interesting about that conversation that we just had was like, I didn't know where Eggshell started and Plastic Budgie ended. And when you put the book up, I was like, wait, which one were we talking about? That's really, really interesting to me. And I think, reading alongside that I'm really, really keen for that reaction. I think that was really quite interesting. Thank you for
Thank you so much for joining us. It's been such a pleasure. Just like everyone, get this book. Like it's amazing, and it really should be on every shelf in the bookstore, I think.
Making people feel, what's it, uncanny?
Yeah.
Exactly. Like, what the hell? What?
It's in the top 10 on every genre.
Oh, that's the dream. Yeah.
So where else could we find more from you, Olivia?
Yes, I'm doing a few things around town to celebrate the launch of Plastic Budgie and of course of Eggshell as well. So the next one coming up is a women of color book group called Opinionated. So Opinionated was kind of like designed to be a safe space for women of color, and we're just starting out, and we're on Instagram at Opinionated Club. I've also got a few other ones, but I can't remember. There's just like you. So I'll maybe
You're just too busy.
Yeah.
I'm so excited for Opinionated. I'm so excited for the things you guys are doing.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, I'm really excited. I think that's all from me. But like, thank you so much. It was
Oh,
such.
thank you. Seriously, amazing. It's incredible. Like it deserves to be on all the award shortlists.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
So
That means a
good.
lot. Like coming from you guys, I really appreciate that.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank
Bye.
you. All right.
Night.
Bye. Have a good night.
Oh man, in awe. You know when you read someone and you're just like, I wish I could write like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so good. And I don't normally read a ton of life writing, which is funny because I'm going to be in like 2 episodes on it this month. Whoops. I liked the life writing class that I did at uni.
Yeah.
It was really good.
I guess part of the show is trying things out, right? Like they get to watch us trying things out as well.
I said to you guys in like our podcast chat that life writing is kind of an incredibly huge and broad umbrella.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad we got to talk to Olivia about this book because of the ways that it is kind of playing with the form and playing with genres.
Yeah, it's so slippery. Like it really does defy genre.
And it's so comforting and validating to, like the narrator and every other character in this story is so complicated and messy and flawed, but there's no moralizing about any of that.
And there's love towards everyone. There's such deep kind of, it's not even compassion, because compassion always feels a little bit patronizing to me. It doesn't have to, but it does. It's just love. It just feels loving, like that you can see someone in all their mess and complications and just feel love.
There's like a degree of empathy towards like past selves and childhood selves that I really loved. When you're like reading the earlier parts of the book and you're watching the narrator make all kinds of mistakes and all kinds of missteps, and it's like there's something so familiar in reading that, but it's also told so empathetically, I think.
Yeah. There's a point where she was describing the shame she felt for something involving her grandparents. As like the hot white shame running down her back. And I was like, I've never been through what you've been through, but I understand that feeling so hard.
Yeah. Oh, that feeling as a little kid when you realize that you have the ability to hurt the feelings of adults.
Yes.
And also how that feels like
awful.
It destabilizes the whole world when you learn that. Like it's a very scary feeling. Anyway, thanks for joining us to talk to Olivia. We will definitely be having Olivia back because she is, I feel like she's going to be a major Australian literary voice that we're going to be looking back on in 50 years just going, wow, look at that.
Yeah.
So
if no one else, I definitely will be.
Yeah, we will be. We will be. If you want to join us,
we'll do a 50-year anniversary podcast episode.
I will be so old by then. I'll be a head in a jar. But I want to remind everyone that for our book club, we have Fiona Wright's The World Was Whole. So I hope you're all reading. This is Justina's rec, and we've been super excited to get to it. I love Fiona Wright, and I have not read this one before, so I'm super excited. So everyone get reading, and we'll join you for Life Writing Book Club, which is going to be where we basically break down what is life writing. It's so slippery.
What is life? How do you write?
What is writing? What does anything mean? Luckily, we'll have a cocktail and all will be well.
Yeah,
it'll be fine.
So
drink the confusion away
and snack the confusion away.
See you next week.
Bye.
Cue music. Stop now. Amy And is hosted by Amy Matthews, Abby Guy, Payton Hogan, Justina Ashman, Harry Stewart, and Lily Heffernan. This podcast is recorded on Gardenland with music by Anthony Wignall and Mass Mysteria. Our logos and branding are designed by Abby Guy. This episode was edited by Justina Ashman.